In the world of the biblical, we've always come across questions and curiosities. Because of the passage of time and the amount of information humanity currently has, it's difficult for us to answer many of these questions that come up when, for example, someone talks to us about the creation of fallen angels, prophets, and floods. We always try to give it an explanation, one that at least halfway fills that gap in our minds. It feeds that need to want to know certain things that apparently are forbidden to us. In the Bible, we can find many mysteries, both for believers and for those who are not. In its text, there are hidden ideas, messages, and information that, if we know how to interpret them, will reveal incredible things to us and lead us to learn more about what God is, what He wants, and how He acts. I am El Documentalista, and this is Where Did Jesus Go After He Died? We've already seen it. We know the story of how a man was whipped, tortured, humiliated, and crucified on a piece of wood. That a spear was driven into his side, and that just before dying he spoke the words, "Father, why have you abandoned me?" He died, and his body was removed from the cross. The body was prepared for the tomb, and that was how it ended. What we know as the Calvary, or the Passion of a man known as Jesus of Nazareth. But his story isn't over yet. According to the scriptures, Jesus rose again on the third day. He was seen by only a few people, but it was said that he had risen from the dead. When the news spread, they immediately went to check the tomb, where, to everyone's surprise, his body had disappeared. This is where a mystery arises. The Bible tells us that he died, was buried, and rose again on the third day. That is, from the moment of his death until his resurrection. 72 hours passed. So the question we all ask ourselves is, where was Jesus during those 72 hours? Where did he go? What did he do? In 1 Peter 3:18-19 it says, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring us to God, being in truth, put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which he also went and preached to the spirits in prison." The phrase "in the Spirit" in verse 18 has exactly the same structure as the phrase "in the flesh." So it seems better to relate the word spirit to the same sphere as the word flesh. The flesh and the spirit are the flesh and the spirit of Christ. The words "but made alive in the Spirit" point to the fact that as Christ bore sin and death, it caused the separation of his human spirit from the Father, Matthew 27:46. The contrast is between the flesh and the spirit, as in Matthew 27:41 and Romans 1:3-4, and not between the flesh of Christ and the Holy Spirit. When Christ's atonement for sin was completed, his spirit resumed the fellowship that had been broken. 1 Peter 3:18-22 describes the necessary link between the suffering of Christ and his glorification. Only Peter gives specific information about what happened between these two events. The word "preached" in verse 19 is not the usual word used to describe preaching the gospel in the New Testament. This one literally means to announce a message. Jesus suffered and died on the cross. Then his body was brought to death. And his spirit died when he was made sin, but his spirit was made alive, and he gave it to the Father. According to Peter, at some point between his death and his resurrection, Jesus made a special proclamation to the imprisoned spirits. Verse 19 to begin with, Peter referred to people as persons and not spirits. In the New Testament, the word spirits is used to describe angels or demons, not human beings, and verse 22 seems to corroborate this meaning. Additionally, the Bible never states that Jesus visited hell. Acts 2:31 says that he went to Hades. In the Reina Valera version, but Hades is not hell. In the original Greek, the word Hades refers to the realm of death, a temporary place where they wait for the resurrection. Revelation 20 verses 11 to 15. In the English versions and the New International Version, they make a clear distinction between the two. Hell is the permanent and final place of judgment for the lost. Hades is a temporary place. Jesus gave his spirit to the Father, died, and at some point between death and resurrection, visited the realm of the dead, that is, Hades. There he delivered a message to the spirits, probably fallen angels, Jude 6, who were somehow related to the period before the flood in the time of Noah. Verse 20 makes this clear. Peter didn't tell us what he proclaimed to these imprisoned spirits. We don't know what Jesus said to them. But this couldn't have been a message of redemption because angels cannot be saved. Hebrews 2:16. It was probably a declaration of victory over Satan and his hosts. 1 Peter 3:22, Colossians 2:15, Ephesians 4:8-10. It also seems to indicate that Christ went to paradise. Luke 16:20 and verses 23-43, and took to heaven all those who had believed in him before his death. This passage does not give a lot of detail about what happened, but most Bible scholars agree that this is what it means, with he led captivity captive. All that to say that the Bible isn't entirely clear about what Jesus did exactly. The 72 hours between his death and the resurrection. It seems, however, that he was preaching victory over the fallen angels and the non-believers. What we can know for sure is that Jesus was not giving people a second chance for salvation. The Bible tells us that we will face judgment after death. Hebrews 9:27, not a second chance. Actually, there is no clear or definitive answer for what Jesus was doing in the time between his death and his resurrection. Maybe this is one of the mysteries that we will only understand when we reach glory. I am El Documentalista. And this was... Where did Jesus go after he died? Special greetings to Manuel Mozo, Felix Lopez, Oscar Vázquez, Kevin Flores Malboro, Sigmar Rico, Ángel Dones, María Teresa Dimas, Cris, Kevin Fuentes, Martín Cortés, Jessy Neves, Alberto Rivas, Torek Rodríguez, Octavio Rodolfo Morales Gutiérrez, Leonardo Félix, Gustavo Manzanares, Joshua el Pro X, Roger A. du Franks Garg One, Polietileno Orellas, Michael Martínez, José Francisco Oga de Solitario, Alejandro Félix, Sandra Sanz, Juan Melgar, Belinda Ger, Juan Carlos Campos Argo, Graciela González, Aurelio Tello, Johnny Alba, Indio Saavedra, Samuel Payne y Flores, Eric López Budas, Cucu Forever Estrada Gonza, 2903 Alejandro Ibarra, Pérez Museo del Horror, Saltillo Oficial Leonardo Aguilar, Luis José Machado, Alex Casasola, RMR Cini, Yasmín Torres. Thank you. And until next time.